Hey, I'm Greg Beebe. Welcome back to the show. I'm here with my good friend Shawn. We're in, are we in Denver? We're in Denver.
We are in Denver.
Okay, yeah. We're at the 38 Club brewery slash good time event, having venue here.
Yeah, it's kind of a hodgepodge of everything here.
Yeah, I like it, you know?
Yeah.
Like they get you right at the door and just set you up and you don't have to worry about anything.
This is the way to go.
It's like they know.
Not carrying out your credit card every time.
It's like they're not hiding the fact that they're just like, okay, we're dealing with children. Okay?
Yeah. These are people who just want to have easy access to drinking and food and music.
Like
so.
we end up with a whole bar room full of credit cards and trying to get them back. It's like, we're gonna slide it right now. Here's the back. Hold on to it. Put it in a safe spot and go. You know?
It's so
like,
it's kind of like an amusement park.
Really is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we just had an interesting conversation about music festivals.
We did.
Anybody who watches the show knows I run Jubileego Music Festival every year. And you had some interesting spins and takes on some really, really cool ideas about how to run a music festival and why almost, right?
Yeah, I love music.
Yeah.
That's my thing. Some people fish, some people jog, I guess. I don't know, whatever they do, but I go to live music. That's my thing.
Nice.
And when one day I realized that the thing that I love isn't really accessible for people with disabilities.
Yeah.
You know, no matter what, we were talking about that magic bubble, right?
Yeah.
So like the moment when energy from the crowd and energy from the stage combines and this magic bubble happens, and then you look over and there's these people off in the side in the ADA section that not in the groove, not sharing in the groove.
Yeah, it's like a disconnection, you know?
It is.
And like, because like there's the stage and there's the audience, and then the audience becomes the stage and back and forth a little bit, you know? And yeah, if you can't become a part of either one of those things, then you just feel like you're watching television. You're just looking at, you know, you're not a part of it, and that's depressing, you know.
Yeah, and it doesn't, and it just didn't need to be that way. I mean, and as if a disability, you know, in some people's eyes, is a barrier. There's actual physical barriers then at events that, you know, like if you go to a ballpark or something and you see like a line of 20 wheelchairs, a wheelchair posse didn't go to the venue, right? They went with family and friends.
Yeah,
they're just not able to sit with them.
Yeah.
And so it's this right out of the gate. It's just there's no inclusion in that form of dating.
And I found it refreshing that you just had the whole event for free. You know.
Yes.
That's so just directly giving, right there on the spot. So many nonprofits, are doing a lot of really good things as well, but generally the formula, the structure of how they interact with, you know, the people that they're helping is, okay, we're going to gather all this, and then we're going to decide how to help, and then we put it all back, you know?
Yep.
And it's like, if you just is directly giving, then it's done, everyone's happy, and, you know, and that is tough to do. Did you have like a lot of sponsors, or just like people jumping in?
Well, we did. So the event was supposed to happen July of 2020.
Okay.
And so we had some pretty good sponsors, and then when COVID hit, we lost them all.
Yeah.
But we didn't realize, we didn't know that we lost them until January of 2021.
Okay.
And when they said, oh, by the way, we're not going to be able to do that anymore.
Yeah.
And you know, and it's understandable. That was a hard year for everybody, right?
Yeah.
But integrity is my big thing, and it's like I made a commitment that this was going to happen, and so I was like at all costs, and so I fronted it, and then but we had some really big Colorado staffing agency, like we had so many bands that like wanted to participate.
Oh yeah.
And like, how do you say no to someone's like, can we please participate?
It's hard.
Yeah. So we needed a second stage, and they're like, how much do you need? I'm like, 10 grand. Boom. You know.
Wow.
And so the good news was that I didn't take a penny, and I I had an amazing team of volunteers that none of us got paid. And
that's generally the situation.
And the bands donated their talent. And we were able to pull it off. And so it was really great. And we had exactly what we needed, and sometimes people judge success by the over, we're all in that quota mode. Oh, I went over quota. And it's like the universe provided exactly what it needed.
Because it's not about that, like
it wasn't
when you're doing it at all costs and you're doing it because you love to do it, like it shows, like and then
it's my purpose. It was like, how would I put a price tag on my purpose? Like once I realized, holy moly, this is the reason I'm here on this planet. You can't really just put a brakes on that.
No.
Those are powers far beyond me.
This is just the next part of the challenge.
Exactly.
Point,
Exactly.
I feel it. And it's always going to be something. It's
It happened to be in the day we had it. It happened to be. Of course, COVID was still an issue, and Colorado made history in the history of all time. Colorado had the worst air quality on the planet. The day we had Shawn.
Wow, and just my perception of Colorado,
it does
not match
we
that at all.
We plan for a lot of things, like okay. What if it rains? What if it downpours? What if we planned a lot of it? But boy, air quality was not one of those things that we. No, did not see that. But and we were so in the day, and now as we're looking back at the footage, as we're putting together the little mini documentary, you can see it. And there were like people who have Apple Watches, their air quality alerts were going off on them. I'm like Ween, where I got the 100 dB warning. I got the air quality warning for Shawn. I was like, oh, this is great.
Wind shifting direction here.
And they weren't fires from Colorado. So again, it was all Oregon and Canada, and all those fires were. It wasn't even Colorado fires.
Okay,
so,
that makes a lot of sense. But I will say that the water and air, since I've been here, have been just crisp and fresh.
Normally, yes.
Astoundingly so. It's amazing how much, like in I don't know, just in Ohio, I guess, everything's like the water's over chlorinated, over fluoridated, and like all of these things, and like you can smell it, and it really bothers me. Like I avoided it for as long as I could. And then about the last year, I've been using city water, and I really hate it. And then now I'm like, oh yeah, I really hate city water over there, not here.
It is.
It doesn't have to be that way,
It doesn't, and I think fundamentally, I think you nailed it. It doesn't have to be that way. And we become complacent, I think. And that we think, who is the best slave is the one who doesn't know they're a slave. And we just all kind of... But 2020 blew off all of our blinders. And you had two options. Keep your blinders off. And see, how can you make change? How can you make social change? Or put them back on and pretend that you didn't know the difference.
Right. And it's easy to do that, But
it is physically easier. It's not morally easy.
It depends a lot on your daily life, because everything around you seems like it's going back to normal in a way, right? And that's, I guess, what I meant on the surface.
Right.
But everything underneath, we all now know, is not as kosher.
I think it's
as
the word
we
normal.
Were led to believe.
I think it's the word normal. Everyone's like, oh, it's going back to normal. Normal there is no such thing as this is normal for everyone. And then when you take into account the millions and millions of people with disabilities, life is never normal. Never
not
normal.
even close.
And
we've taken, like, for water, for example, though, like, we've taken it for granted for so long that it was never an issue. It never, at least out in Ohio, we're right next to the Great Lakes, And it just seems like they'll just last forever, you know. But I mean, fresh water is becoming more and more of an issue every year now, and it's like I'm getting together with my buddy in northwest part of Ohio. He's part of the water treatment plant over there. That's his job, and so I can't wait for that interview. And I have a lot of questions for him. You know, like how I mean, what are they actually doing? What's possible? Like, what's the budget? You know, like all of these
they always seem easy to fix from the outside. And sometimes they are. Sometimes it's just politics that prevent things from happening.
What's reverse osmosis? How much energy does that take? How much energy is in a solar panel? You know, like all of these questions.
Yeah.
You know, like
but I feel like we're in this. For every step we take forward, right? All that red tape pushes us back 2 steps, and I don't feel like we're really very much further along than we were 20 years ago.
Yeah, well, probably true. You know, like I mean, we're definitely using a lot more resources on a whole.
Right.
Like,
so even the benefits that we did, we're negating those movements by all the other things.
Yeah, and you know, it's deceiving because it stays level sometimes, but it's like, oh, we did all this good, but then like a ton of like third world countries want to have electricity to get out of poverty, you know?
Yeah.
And so all they could do is turn on tons of coal power plants, you know? And so globally, I mean, we could knock down everything 15% in America and it would still stay even.
Right.
You know? But that's the overarching challenge.
Yeah. And that's why it's like when there's things like accessibility, you know, and inclusion. I was dubbed the inclusion architect this year in an article, and I was like, I build inclusivity into for-profit, non-profit, whatever. But I think it's about, there are things that are like water and the environment that are going to require Elon Musk level money and time in that.
Yeah, and specialization of education in a way too. And a lot of, I mean, there's things that we just don't know that we're not going to know, you know?
Yeah.
And we don't really need to because, I mean, that's the way humanity works. We're a collective, you know?
Right.
And to get back to your point, I mean, inclusivity, I mean, if we're a collective, right? Like, inclusivity is going to help people who don't normally get it, and then they can, like, springboard from that, and they can be their best selves, you know? And so, you know, that's going to help, you know, 10 times, you know, trying to help somebody who's just already having a good life, you know, like.
Yeah.
So, you know, we don't know what we're really doing, you know, sometimes.
Communication is education.
Yeah.
It's all we have. It's just about using our voices, you know, and we can't. It's hard. There's so many things. Like if you were to like be drawing from a pool of what am I going to be? What is my purpose? What am I? Boy. Right.
Yeah.
But pick one thing that connects, that resonates, and do what. And it doesn't mean that you're going to solve it.
No.
But just do one thing that makes us
on the path.
Yes,
on the
that's
path.
just keep the conversation
you gotta keep your
going.
eye on the star.
Yeah, you
it's
just gotta
impossible
go.
to get to that star. I know
No,
that. You know, I know, but that's where I'm going.
Yeah. The rainbow. The end of the rainbow always moves.
Right.
But the rainbow's still there.
Right.
You know,
It's the path.
Yep, that's it.
It's not the end of it.
That's
you know?
it. Yeah, and I think that if we just and it's so overwhelming, all the things, you know, from environmental, from social injustice, all of those, it's easy to get overwhelmed. And I think that's what happens to most people. They're like, healthcare and big pharma and environment and all these things are a huge issue. What am I going to do? It's like if you just do one thing, if everybody just did one thing, that pick a topic, there's a ton of them.
There's 350 million people just in America, you know? Imagine doing 350 million small things.
Changes everything.
It does, overnight.
One person can make a difference. And we've gotten into this whole motto that it doesn't. It's like, no, it does.
Yeah. I mean, because when you say like, even like, Elon Musk has to take care of it, or Bezos, or somebody with money. It's like, well, they were just like us at one point too.
Exactly.
You know, like you got to start. You just have to and then the universe kind of unfolds in a positive way if you're walking down that path.
Yeah. I mean, like Elon was adopted.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm adopted, and it's like, I didn't get adopted by anybody that would have allowed me the opportunities that I had. But and then I think they also unfairly get put, and I should clarify that, it's pull his name out of, the air.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
But it's just because he's amassed
fortunes
beyond my comprehension, anything I could ever imagine, doesn't mean that it all falls on him.
No.
And it's easy to point those fingers, right?
It's like guys like him have become their own entity that's disconnected from the world or something, which is really weird and sad. I mean, if he's trying to help people, but
yeah, I mean, I guess it's even
in a
Bill
way
Gates.
He is, in a way he is.
Yeah. I mean, Bill Gates has the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and they do a lot of great things.
Yeah.
But what's amazing is you really got to investigate to find out what it is they do.
Right.
Because that's not what people talk about.
No, not at all.
So, I'm sure that Elon has done amazing things.
Yeah.
You have to go and research it, because that's not what people want to talk about.
He funds his own research and development, which comes up with a lot of really interesting ideas. Self-landing rockets and new battery technologies, which are hugely beneficial.
They really are.
Honestly.
Yeah, and he's in his thing. I mean, this is his journey. You get one ticket for the ride, and you get that. You do what you do with it.
And in America, we've spent decades basically deregulating capitalism and just corporation overreach and things. And really, that's on us. We could start a corporation too and just run it. I mean, honestly, we've spent so long deregulating it that there really aren't any rules now. So any way you want to run a corporation, do that.
Right.
It's all up in the air now.
Yeah, I mean, it really
nothing
is.
needs to change at all.
And yet everything.
Yes.
Nothing
yes.
and yet everything.
And it's the mindset of the people who go into those types of, worlds usually are in it to win it, so to say, the game of the thing,
Yeah. And I think
they're playing the wrong game.
Yeah. I think we're seeing, though, with the movement of businesses for the greater good and B corporations, and where, I started my B Corp process in 2019 before I got sidetracked with my nonprofit, and there weren't very many B Corps, and that number grows every day. And it's a massive undertaking to become a B Corp, and you have to submit, Ben and Jerry's, they're a perfect Tom's, any organization. I mean, it's a huge, massive undertaking and a commitment. Making sure that your numbers are balanced, that you're not making more money than you should be making off of this and that kind of stuff. And so you're seeing that movement.
Are you talking about nonprofits? Or?
No, so it's called not like an S Corp or a C Corp. They're called B Corps.
Okay.
And it is optional. So you go through a whole assessment of governance and how you're spending. What are you doing to impact the environment? Do you recycle? How do you? What kind of organizational pay structure do you have? Are you making 80 cents to the dollar, and all the people who are doing the work making 10 cents?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, what does that whole thing look like? And so it is.
So are there actual limits and caps on those type of corporations?
As far as
you were talking about profits and then inequality, are there actual regulations for?
You have to submit all your financials, and if you're so you have to score a percentage on all these different governance, environment, economic, all these things. And so maybe if it can balance out if you do a lot for the environment, but you make a lot of money, but it balances out. But fundamentally, you look at the numbers. You have to submit everything, and they evaluate whether or not, and it helps you. You're when you do the assessment, you realize, I don't have and we all work, my whole team works from home.
Yeah.
So I can't control whether or not they recycle.
Right.
But, that saves on, they're not commuting. I'm not, when I'm taking up a building and we're not doing all those things.
Yeah.
They have a better work-life balance, all of those things. But then you have to kind of make up for it. You have to just overall have a passing score. And it costs money. It's not free. So it's but there's like even browser add-ons, widgets that when you go on a website, it tells you this is a good website. These guys are good. They do something.
Okay.
Yeah, they're a good organization. And so I think that the generation that's coming up now, when they have a decision to buy something, and there's 20 companies that make that product, they're going to choose the product that does something for the greater good of mankind.
Because they got to live on this planet for another 60 years.
Exactly. Instead of the people who are like, I'll be gone by then, and who cares, and I don't care what my grandchildren or my great-grandchildren inherit.
Now it's like, well, I kind of care, if I have to, there's like a mass migration of millions of people in this country, that's going to suck. That's going to be really, really hard.
Yeah.
Where are all those people going to go? What am I going to do?
Wyoming. There's so much room in Wyoming.
I'm staying in Ohio.
I know. Yeah, I'm good. I'm nestled in the mountains, protected, but it's just growing. I've been there 25 years, and it's just closed in. They only get so far, but
it is very beautiful out here.
It is.
So all these data points, right, in this B Corp. Do you have to hire somebody to count all that up, or is it
there are firms that help you go through the B Corp certification because I just don't have the financial resources to expend on that, doing it myself, which is why it took a long time.
For sure.
And fundamentally what it came down to was...
That's a lot of inventory.
It is a lot of inventory. But it also was my for-profits had 3 owners, and I was the only one who really thought that was right. It was about making money.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I think we can make money and still be a company for the greater good.
Yeah.
And so I ended up just buying everybody out.
There you go.
And so that's because we needed to make fundamental changes.
Yeah.
And I worked.
It is a lot easier to just consolidate sometimes. Just be like, you know what, this is what we're doing now.
Yeah, and it wasn't that my previous partners were bad people.
Right,
it was just they were in the mindset of doing business. We're doing business. This is what we're doing. We're building websites.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, but there is a way to make a difference.
What's direction? What's leadership at that point?
Yeah, and I wanted to have a flat organization, and they were like, what does that mean? I'm like, it means that the people who actually do a lot of the work make the same amount of money as we do. And they were like, wait, what? I'm like, we wouldn't have a business if it wasn't for them.
Yeah.
Why should I make
We're all doing
more
the
money?
same amount of work.
Yeah. And so that was a definite line in the sand there. Where they're like, no.
I love that mentality though. I would love to work at a place where everyone just makes $60 grand a year or something. That would be more than enough than I would ever need.
I mean, it's about finding what works for them, right? It's not even about. A lot of times you apply for a job, right? And you have here's what your duties are. This is your roles, and this is what you get paid to do.
Yeah.
But the reality is, we all do way more than what's on that list.
Right.
And meanwhile, there's an owner of the business who they might have had a mission statement, a value proposition. They might have had all that in the beginning, but they're no longer even involved in the company.
Right.
And so unless that vision and that mission is drilled in all the way down to this receptionist at the front door,
then it just becomes hollowed out, money, stockholders, all of the things.
And I think that it's not even a diss on that. It's I think it's still possible to even have all those things, but still maintain I'm sorry, if you're making $1 million a year and in Colorado alone, you're paying someone $15 an hour.
Right. Yeah. It's hard.
I don't know. I mean, you can't live off $15 an hour in Colorado. They're working 3 jobs, just to survive.
Exactly.
And yet, this is an essential person in your organization that without them, you go hire someone else, because you're just replacing the problem.
Yeah, and it's energy to do that too.
You waste a lot of money, and instead, just give your employees, and I don't even like to call them employees, partners. Your team, give them a voice.
Do you allow your employees to invest in the company, or do you allow
I look forward to being big enough to have that. There is no money to invest. When I started my nonprofit, I purchased out my business partner January of 2020.
Okay.
So, timing-wise, wasn't necessary, but you know what?
It's a hard restart right there.
Yeah, but they all, everybody worked their ass off to get us through the year. And so
everybody's in the same boat though at that point too. So it's like
I was in the exact same boat.
Either this or what? I'm going to go home and watch TV or something. It's like that's not an option.
And fundamentally, my big problem is, as a small business owner, is healthcare. The government's definition of what a small business is, under $15 million. Okay, I'll take $50 million. We don't get, if you have less than, I think, 10 employees, I pay $1,100 just in premiums. So, and I don't get a break, and so every employee that I pay that for, I'm paying over $5,000, $6,000 just in premiums for. I can't do that, and so it's what I decided to do instead was empower them to say, hey, this is what I want. I want 100% of my health care covered. I want 100% of your health care covered. I want you to make enough money that you don't have to have 3 jobs. So here's what we need to do. This is how much money we need to make in order to make that happen. And if you're in, great. And if you're not, totally understand. Understand. But that's what it was. And my aligned team members were on board.
Nice.
And
at that point, it makes it easier. It makes it simplified, because you're like, it's math. This is what it is. This is what we're doing.
This is how much money we need for you to make $60,000 a year. To make everybody get that, or whatever that number is. This is what we need. So that's all. Are you in? Because if you're in, it's a win-win-win-win all the way around. And then people care about what they're doing. It's not just a job. It gives them a voice.
It is nice too when you can work as a team in those kinds of situations. Instead of so many people are working just sole proprietorships or just individually trying to do that, and they're just completely alone and isolated a lot of times, and not able to even reach out, sympathize with anybody or have sympathy for them. And it's that's a problem. We're humans. We have a lot of emotions, and we have a lot of these things. And it's oh, you did that too? Oh man, cool. Yeah, I'm completely there with that. That's all that needs to happen, and you're just right back on track.
It is. And 2020, these kind of networking events and things, right? We didn't have that, and so suddenly that disconnect that
Is this
happened.
a networking event?
Whatever that thing is, we're at over there. That you and I aren't participating.
I have no idea what's going on.
I have no idea. I got invited, and and I was like, for my nonprofit, it doesn't. Marketing doesn't really get it across. Like I said, people hear a music festival and they just, I know what that is, and they tune it out.
For sure.
And
there's a lot of ways you can spin it. There's a lot of organization. It's a lot of hard work.
So it was worth the 30-minute drive down to find out. I have no idea who the guy is that invited me, but now, see, and I trust my gut and my intuition, and I'm always open to that, and I feel like everything, the universe kind of just brings me to where I need to be and the people that I need to meet.
Yeah.
It
seems to be happening, you
It
know?
does. And it's amazing. You probably, I mean, as someone who's going around, you had no idea you were going to meet me, and so what it tells me about you is that you're in the same thing I am. Is if you just open yourself up, it's amazing how many things happen. That all I needed to do was be present,
and they just fall into place, you know. Yeah.
To a point that is like.
I mean, I put a lot of work in.
Right,
too.
but it's also
about
like
half the interviews that I thought that I was going to get happened, which is fantastic, you know. And then a lot of them that I had no idea were going to happen are happening too.
Yeah.
You know? Yesterday it was I was going to meet this guy who's the brother of one of my friends. And then they got sick, but they're like, hey, I got a different guy for you. And then that turned into one of my best ones for sure, you know? And I was like, wow, I didn't know I was going to be talking about riots and protests today, but this is fantastic. You know?
Yeah, by doing that and just being present and open to whatever happens, instead of, we spend, I'm a salesperson by default, that's what my life was before, and when that no happens, we not only from a financial standpoint, I got to get my quota, but then it's what do you mean you're telling me no? And you just sit there and you try so hard to open that door. Meanwhile, there are people walking past you that are totally the doors you're supposed to go into.
Completely on board for this.
Yeah, so I'm always in the
It's that whole Buddhist attachment desire thing, right?
Exactly.
It's I was really attached to that sale, and now I don't have it, and now I'm suffering.
Yep.
And I mean, just break those attachments. What you actually desire for is a sale, not that particular sale, right? So, just go with the flow. It's there. It's still there.
It is. And if you work in, the kind of mainstream sales role, you go tell your boss, man, I just didn't feel the chi in that one. Or it doesn't really work.
No
but
fly.
but when you give your team that, when you remove the fear, right? Noam Chomsky has an amazing.
Noam Chomsky's a genius.
I mean, Requiem for American Dream.
Oh yeah, I've seen it a couple times.
I watch it every year just to remind myself.
Oh my God, it's so powerful.
So powerful. Yeah. And then I usually watch that first, and then I get really pissed.
Yeah.
And then I watch Tom Shadyak's I Am.
Oh wow! Someone else was just telling me about that movie a couple days ago.
It's it's an old documentary.
Yeah, I remember when it came out too.
I mean it reminds. So it's when you watch American Dream.
Hope. It gives
because you're I'm nothing I can do about it. I'm screwed.
The other way, you're just oh, okay.
And then you're no.
I have to keep myself afloat.
Yeah.
And that's how you do it.
And so when you tell your team, desire to be the best human you can be. The desire to succeed, for us to continue to be a business. And you do what you need to do to make that happen. And I'm not going to tell you what that is.
Right.
I'm a really horrible trainer. I think I'm a great owner of a business. I don't use the word boss. But I'm not really good at dictating to people what they should do.
Okay.
And sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't. I had a sales guy, and I said, I don't have quotas. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I don't think quotas actually show what your value is or how hard you're working. Yeah, it didn't really work for him because then he's like, oh, then 0 is good. But then you get the right person, and they're like, wow, you believe in. I hired you because I believe in you as a human being, and let's see what you can do. And
then it gives you kind of grace, in a sense, right?
And it doesn't always work, but but it also doesn't work. Quotas don't work. That fear. I don't want anybody. I don't want people waking up in the morning terrified that it's going to be the day they lose their job.
Because that's not going to.
That's how corporate America works.
Right.
Just if you squeeze them enough, they'll be scared enough that they're going to do whatever they got to do and work those 14-hour days to make it happen and meet that quota. But fundamentally, they're bringing in the dollars, but at what cost?
Lots of stress, lots of unneeded worry.
And they're bringing that to your potential clients.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
exactly.
I mean, I told my son that. I was like, if you're going to be in sales, don't ever sell.
Yeah.
Don't ever sell. That's the best tip I can give anybody for sales. Don't sell.
Right, just be genuine. Be authentic about it.
Listen.
Right? Yeah.
And if it works and you have what they need, then great. And if not, how, is it just a hey, great, you met someone and it's awesome?
Yeah.
Or is there other reasons that, that you guys can impact each other's lives?
That's true too. And what generally happens when you do that too, when you're just trying to be a human to people, it's like, they're like, oh, I don't need your help, but I know someone who does,
Yeah.
Like, how often does that happen? Like 25% of the time? At least sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, it does.
Yeah.
It all. Shine Music Festival happened because I told one person, and I told a lot of people, and eventually it got to, hey, you need to talk to this person, and you need to talk to that person.
You're building momentum.
Yeah, that's
and
it.
It just starts rolling down without even trying after a while.
Yeah. And
when you don't have that, you're taking your own legs out from under you, and you're just like, okay, bye, and it's like, okay, I'm not here for this.
Yeah.
You're coming at me like
you're gonna get way more no's than you get yeses, and so why
it's
not?
It's like this like brute force versus like this like kind of like grace or finesse, right?
Yeah. Someone once said, I don't get your hippie mentality. And I was like, well, I don't know what that means, but if just not being a dick makes me a hippie, then I guess I'm a hippie.
Right, yeah, exactly.
I don't know. So,
I mean, terms are so loaded emotionally,
I know. I was like, okay, but
yeah, it's like it's words, man.
It's utopia,
like
and I'm like, okay, well, I don't know. I think if everybody just man, if you just treat it, it's really as simple. That's it, man. If you just be the kind of person you want other people to be to you,
right,
then you pretty much have your bases covered.
And that's basically what every religion throughout all of history has said.
Yeah.
Where anybody who's they're like, you come to me with a problem, I'd be like, well, is it hurting that person? Well, don't do that.
That's it. If putting chemicals into the ocean is hurting people, then don't do it.
Yeah. It sounds obvious.
It does. It must. I mean, either we are really, really smart, or people just aren't paying attention.
That's just how thoughts work, though. Because if we're isolated and we're alone and we're with our own thoughts, we start thinking, I can make money doing this, and then it goes around, and it's like, oh, well, that's what the game is, and that's what I should do, and then no one's there to kind of course correct you. And then you believe your own thoughts, and you think that you are your own thoughts, and then you're like, I'm going to roll with it. Here's the decision, green light. And then all over, game over.
Yeah, and I think that's it. I get it, right? We need money to exist. You got bills, and you got that. You got, especially if you got a family.
Right.
And the societal pressures that the society puts on men. Oh, you got to provide, and you got to be that. And but fundamentally, it's hard to say it because I know that it gets taken out of context. But if you just, it isn't about, I'm not going to focus on money. You got to do what you got to do to pay the bills.
Yeah.
But when that becomes your focus, that's when I think you lose. I think you lose yourself when I'm doing this because I want money. Not I'm doing this because I want to help someone and I'm going to get paid, or I'm going to just, and it should be, the money should be the and. And I know that's where that hippie mentality that I was, comes in, but But I've always, I grew up in the system. I always American poor. There's a big difference between American poor and most other third world countries. And I know what it's like to be hungry. And I know what it's like to have no idea where you're going to get your money to pay your rent. And I understand that.
that teaches you a very real thing.
It does, but I'm grateful for everything I've ever. I wake up every day and I look at the Continental Divide, and in 25 years that I've lived in my house, there's never a morning that I don't get up and I'm grateful for the journey. And no matter how hard it was, every single step I took got me to right here.
Exactly.
And so I just have to keep taking one step at a time. Use my intuition. If a step if there's resistance in that step, I'm going the wrong way.
Yeah, for sure.
Stop.
For sure.
Take a breath. Look around. Is there another way to go?
Yeah.
And I mean,
that's being very in tune with yourself, though, too, and that's something that we don't generally talk out in the open about. I know, it seems like we do now more than maybe we ever have in history, I think. And I think partially because we have screens to hide behind or something, communication. It's easier to be vulnerable if I'm not right in front of you, or something like that.
But screens also mask our vulnerability because we never post. I had a really crappy day today. We always post the sunshines and flowers and everything's great. So I don't know.
Maybe we should practice doing that more, just to kind of be more real in our...
Glennon Doyle did it, and look where it got her. I mean, so she, Love Warrior, her whole story was she saw a Facebook thing that said, I don't know, her whole comment, one of her things that her book, she was someone said, oh, how are you today? And we always go, oh, I'm great. And she said, oh my gosh, I'm going to kill my kid. I'm going to and the person on the other was
real talk.
Aghast. And then she goes, oh, I mean, I'm fine. And then everything was great. And then she was like, wow, so I had to pretend?
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't know. I think that's fundamentally where she made a big impact. There's a lot of, Elizabeth Wilkerson in her book Cast taught me about those, about because I think, I grew up in this, and no.
Right.
Regardless, my opportunities were still greater because of the color of my skin.
Yeah.
And if you go to a doctor and you have something wrong, they ask you about your past.
Right.
So even though it wasn't my past, it was part of our collective past, and we have to accept it and acknowledge it before we could ever move forward. And so it's kind of that, I take that same mentality with absolutely everything, because if someone says, how you doing today? I don't need to lie if I'm not doing great.
Right, yeah, exactly.
That's not benefiting anyone. It's actually, maybe they're not really having a great day either, but they don't feel that they can even open up. Yeah. So why not just be genuine and be authentic?
Yeah.
Have integrity.
Go off script,
I didn't even know there was a script,
right?
But we
seems to be though,
Oh, because we all
we're
watch.
I'm doing great.
Yeah.
That's the script,
Yeah, because we watch TV and movies and
It's baked into the culture. It's baked into how society runs, basically. If you're telling me all your problems at the checkout counter, I'm okay, I don't know why I'm here right now. I feel uncomfortable or whatever. I mean, and if you do feel uncomfortable, why is that? Are you not going to be present there with the person really quick, or
Yeah, that's interesting. You said that. The lady I was at the self checkout at Walmart this last weekend, and the girl came up who works there, and she proceeded to tell me things that I wouldn't think that you would tell a stranger. And
I've had that happen.
And I was like, you're open, you're always allowing yourself to be.
Yeah.
I must have created a presence that made her feel comfortable.
Yeah.
That she came up to a complete stranger and said things that you would think only your very, 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 very close friend would know.
Yeah.
And instead of being helped, kind of taken back, I was like
engaged.
I felt really awesome that I gave off that air that I'm a safe space.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
For sure.
And my husband was like, "What?" I'm like, I don't know. He goes, "Do you know her?" I'm like, "No, I don't know her." And I did the I am thing. Have you seen that yet?
I haven't.
Okay, you have to watch it.
I know what it's about.
Yeah.
Generally speaking.
And so I started doing that. I do it all the time. Instead of, when you're in, so the grocery store to me is what hell is. That's hell.
Yeah.
Hell is like a really long traffic to get to into a grocery store where everybody puts their cart in the middle of the aisle and pretends that there's not 7 people standing there waiting. Those people, that's hell.
Have you ever heard of David Foster Wallace? And he gave a commencement speech to a college once that was very along those lines, where he's like, it's like the commencement speech is very much like, you're a fish in water, and you say, what's water? Okay, we all get that part, but then you're in real life, and you're coming home, and you're like, fuck, I forgot the sour cream at the grocery store, and it's like, I don't want to spend a whole hour of my day, but I have to go in there anyway. We're under neon lights, and we're in line, and we can't talk to any of these people, and it's just a living hell. I don't want to be here right now.
Yeah, and then
this is everyday life.
Exactly.
This is what you're going to go through.
Exactly. And what it does though, now you're in that negative space. So I know that when I get in when I pull in the parking lot, I'm like, oh, this is gonna suck. And amazingly enough, I always have a crappy time.
But you tell yourself that, right?
Right. And so when I took Tom Shadyack's thing of that, and again, that one person can make a difference.
Yeah.
I, instead of saying the things I used to say in my head to the lady who was completely, I would put positive affirmations in my head.
Yeah.
I wish you peace. I wish you just. And I started noticing this really huge change.
Yeah.
So I did it for a couple weeks, and then my husband went with me to the grocery store. I said, hey, I've been doing this experiment. I want you to pay attention. So he goes, oh no, if you're gonna start shit, I ain't going in there with you. I'm like, dude, I'm not gonna start shit. And he goes, Shawn, I'm not joking. I'm like, what? He kept asking me what I'm doing. I'm like, just watch other people around me.
Yeah.
So we go through the whole store.
My question is, what has your husband seen you do in the past?
Oh, he bolts, because I'm like, seriously? Can you move your car? I wasn't, and he's gone. He's like, if you're going to be confrontational, that's fine, but I'm like, I don't need you to win my battles for me. I can handle it myself.
Yeah.
So that kind of mentality. And we went through the whole thing, and at the very end, we were at the deli.
Yeah.
And, nothing really had happened. And the lady cuts in front of me. And Erin instantly tenses up like, oh, here she goes. And I was like, and she turned around, she goes, oh, I'm sorry. I'm like, no, it's okay. I wish you peace. I hope you're healthy. I just want joy, your family to be happy. I just say, and all of a sudden, she turned around. She goes, I know this sounds weird, but can I hug you? And I went, yes. And I hugged her, and I looked at my husband. I went, and we got in the car, and he goes, what in the world? And I said, I'm not joking. I just put positive energy out, and people are like, it's like candy.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, because they're so we're all starved for positive energy.
Yeah.
And so I just put that out there, and that day changed my life. That day changed my life because it was like actual proof and evidence that my mental thought process impacted people around me that they had no idea about.
Yeah, and
it's crazy.
Yeah, and it's really straightforward too.
It's so easy. Don't be a dick.
Yeah,
that's literally
it's
all it is.
What happens.
Don't be in your mind. Catch yourself, because if you're in a negative space, that's the energy that you're giving out, and that's scientifically proven. That's not hippie mentality. That's scientific. The whole.
Everybody knows if someone's being a dick to you. Like, what are you gonna do? It's like, okay, man, fuck off. I'm gonna go over here now.
Yeah.
And it's just that type of thing.
But you take a little bit of it with you.
Yeah, that's
you
true
do.
Too.
You
that's
do.
True too. Yeah. And so on the other side of the spectrum then too, right?
Yep.
Like if you're positive to somebody, then you're like, okay, man, well, let's hug, and this is great. Like, I'm really glad I met you. I'm really glad this happened right now. Cool, I'll see you in the future or whatever, right? And then they go away and they're like, oh yeah, cool, I feel great now,
and it's like, just try
it. Just passes on to the next person.
It's super fun,
and
I enjoy it far more than being mean. So, and I was never outwardly mean, but in my head, I wasn't saying very nice things.
Right.
You know, I wasn't calling them very nice names, and so and I encourage. It's fun. I enjoy.
It's not always easy.
It is not, and those are the fun ones though.
Yeah.
Because guess what? If someone is impacting you to a point where it is physically hard to not react in a negative way, they need that positive energy way more than you could ever imagine. So it's at those moments when you feel like you are about to break, that's when you gotta give it your all. You gotta just reach down deep and think about your worst day and how hard that was for you. And the whole walk a mile in their shoe. Think about, man, I've been that person before, and what did I need? I just needed someone to be kind.
And then you're able to break that person's cycle. You're able to break down walls, and that person can be like, breathe fresh air and realize that fresh air exists again too.
And they go home and they are that to their family.
We forget so easily.
We do. Life's not as hard as we make it out to be.
In our own minds. Our minds are destructive. I'm worried. I'm just making up events in the future that aren't really happening, and why am I worried? Okay.
That's why I tattooed it on my wrist, because I had stickies everywhere, and whenever I get that way, I realize if I'm just present, if I'm just still right now, everything's cool right now. I'm worried about something in the past. I'm pissed about something in the past, or worried about something in the future, and I'm not present. So whenever I get that way, it's just about right now. I'm okay. Right now, I'm alive. I'm having a great conversation.
And for the listening audience, it says "Be Still" tattooed on your wrist right here.
Yes.
For one of the festivals I did, I had the wristbands, and I had it in, kind of engraved, embossed, on the rubber. It just says "Be cool, fool," something like that.
Nice. I mean, it is. And I literally, it was because I had stickies everywhere, and I said, and then Prince died. And I can't really get a Prince tattoo, because if I get a Prince tattoo, then I got to get a fish and an Umphreys and a ween, and I got to get all the other ones. So I used Prince's Pantone purple and my Be Still.
I got a picture.
I
got a picture with a mural of Prince today, actually.
You did? Crazy.
Over at the Radish bar, vegan restaurant.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
He's one of those where the reason I loved him was it's what happens when you dig deep into a person. Because everybody just saw, if you only knew him from the radio, you had no concept of the amazing talent that he had. And the amazing, he was a Jehovah's Witness. He believed in what he did. And he literally, if you go around to Milwaukee, he went around and actually knocked on people's doors as Prince, preaching the word,
The legend of this guy always increases. And never fails to impress me.
And he's just, he was, and you look at, and plus no one could pull off. If you were to walk around and, he was, I love music. He was talented beyond belief, and so when he died, I grew up in the 80s. So, it was it was very much a part of my childhood.
Like a cornerstone icon kind of a thing.
All the other things, fundamentally he was kind of that paved the way. And then that's why I really started getting really into music and wanting to listening to the B-side. Oh my gosh, have you heard most of my friends are like, what? I'm like, the other side of the 45. And the fact that I just aged myself with a 45, I still have them. Or flipping the cassette,
For sure.
And so, but it's about, I think we all have a Prince inside. We all have the ability to be so much bigger and better than we are, and we put limitations. Our biggest hurdle is ourselves, and if we can just get past that mental block, that's what I said. That fundamentally, one of the first things I said when we were talking was, I spent 6 months after my purpose was given to me, mentally, saying, "Why me? Why me? why me? And
you're worthy to be you, right?
Yeah.
Somebody told me that a couple of days ago.
That's interesting. Yeah. And I was like, man, I was just like, if I just like, why not me?
Yeah.
Why not me? And then when I started when I took that on, when I took on that mantra, why not me? My life changed.
Yeah.
My life changed completely because I was no longer limited by my own mental block that I built in of like, I'm a female, I don't have the money, I don't have this, okay.
I mean, everybody has a list, you know?
We all have it.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I just threw mine away. I was like, I'm capable of doing anything. Anything.
Yeah, I mean, you're a human on the planet like everybody else is, and like we took over the planet.
I mean, yeah. We're
pretty impressive stuff, you know?
Yeah, and we're all, and it's never you're never too old, and you're never who knows what your why not me is.
Yeah,
just ask yourself, like,
you're still here.
Why, next time you say, well, why me, just stop and go, why not me, and see where that goes. Like, it's incredible.
I was telling Guy, I was like, man, I call myself Great Grandpa BB, but I'm a little bit apprehensive about that sometimes. He's like, yeah, like, why would you be great or a grandpa and you're none of those things? I'm like, yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
It's
Who
like
cares? Yeah. No. Someone said that. Someone said they were going to be a grandma, and I said, I don't want to be called grandma. And they go, what do you want? I'm like, Gigi. And they're like, that's for great grandma. I'm like, I don't care what it means. I would rather just be called Gigi than grandma.
It's fun. I want to do something that's fun and like not have a reason for it because I don't have to have one.
I don't have to have a reason. I can be called anything I want to be called.
Names are so superfluous anyway, right?
Right. Labels. Wait, and isn't that, was it, I'm going to forget who said it. I came into this world and they said I was a boy and they said my name was, and then I was in Akron, Ohio. I think that's what it was. And so it was. They spoke the moment that we were born. They spoke words, and those words became our reality.
Yeah. I dig it.
Like, we are like seconds old, and
really
we are already having everything's defined.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
The color of our skin, where we were born, who our parents are, everything about us, suddenly in that very moment, the moment we take our first breath, we already have chapters of our book written.
And those type of things define us in weird ways too, you know? Like, my last name's BB, everybody calls me BB, or it has, you know? And like, it was great though, you know? Like when I went to a party, people were like, BB! And we were like, cool, you know? But like, I don't know. All right, so you went on kind of a rap there, and like one of my favorite sayings about names, right, is this Aesop Rock. He said, "My name is a series of numbers and letters and other alphanumerics that changes hourly forever." I'm like, when I heard that, I was like, okay, cool.
I need to memorize that. That's amazing.
I say that sometime on stage when people are like, "You're not a great grandpa." You know, I'm like, okay, how about this?
And then they have nothing to say.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, yeah. It is. And I definitely went through the phase of I wish I would have known this earlier in life.
Yeah.
But I was so busy.
Because you could define your own terms that way too.
I did, but I didn't know that, you know.
Yeah.
And I thought I was defined by. And let's face it, kids are mean.
Yeah.
Not little kids, because they don't know. They see little children do not see differences. They just love unconditionally.
They're not trying to get. A lot of bullies try to get attention. You know,
and that
try
happens
to
as they get older,
change
right?
power dynamics.
Yeah.
And
You don't see like a 2-year-old manipulating the situation.
No, not really.
But I was caught up in the whole, I was defined by my parents' lack of ability at the time to make money.
Yeah.
And I was a kid, I have no control over that, but that's what I was judged by.
Wow.
And I mean, if you grew up in, depending on what societal level you were at in school, dictated who you hung out with, where you sat at the lunch table.
Right.
And I basically kind of created an alter ego to be the person that society wanted me to be.
Yeah.
And I wasn't I didn't realize
the script.
That's exactly.
Once again, but so would you say that maybe like our education system is very based off of this kind of authoritarian, over creative mindset, right? And so, like, if we have a creative mindset, be whoever you want to be. Make up your own character.
But our school system is set up to create the drones that are needed to keep our society going.
This is your name. It's in alphabetical order, and we're going to go in that order.
Yep. And you're going to take these courses. It doesn't matter what you want to do.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to be first in the line, so I'm going to change my name and be in the back of the line now. Is that cool?
Yeah.
No, that's not cool.
And like if you're a guy and you wanted to take a home ec class,
right?
And if you were a girl who wanted to take welding, and it was not okay.
Yeah.
And it
this masculine, feminine kind of like roles that are just so well defined and stark.
You know what's interesting? I had this conversation the other day about, it's awesome that we're living in an era now that people are feeling comfortable to express themselves how they want to be expressed.
Yeah.
And what is happening is that it's also stopping communication because people are terrified to say something that is going to piss them off. Yeah. Now, the reason the conversation started was as I was getting into creating the Shine Music Festival, I started saying differently abled because I thought that sounded more, you know? Man.
Yikes.
Got chewed out. I said an actual hearing impaired person said I'm hearing impaired, and I said impaired to another person, and again got chewed out. So what happens
like
is, and he was like, I'm not a he. I'm like, okay. So what happens is there's a responsibility for all of us to stop being so defensive, and if someone addresses, and there is no synergy. So some people, like I said, he was hearing impaired, and he refers to himself as hearing impaired, and that is horrible to another person. So it is about, I think we're breaking away from this normal culture of this whole naming attitude. This is you're a boy, and this is it, and this is how it is. But we need to make sure that we don't stop the communication. Because that's what's I've talked to people who are like, I'm not even going to say anything anymore because I'm just going to piss someone off. And it's like, you might piss someone off, but then it's about like, hey, you know what? I don't know,
other people, and it's unneeded.
So I stopped saying differently abled, and then people are like, why don't you say differently? I'm like, look, you need to get with your posse and find out a word because for special needs. That's a whole other ballgame, that was created in the school system by parents who said my kids have special needs, and now it's like, but then it's like if the world was inclusive, they wouldn't have special needs.
Right. All right. Well, what about this? Like, we have all these pronouns and titles. Why can't we just call people human? It's like, hey, human. What do you? I'm just gonna bypass this whole thing right now. Because this is correct. What I'm saying is correct.
Right.
No matter
you're human. Regardless of anything else, you're human.
Let's just zoom out a little bit. Just get rid of titles. Okay, why not?
I should try that.
That's what I'm thinking about. I got a letter.
You have to really change. You have to go into the they, the non he she pronoun.
Right. Because with they, you can just say humans, right?
Yeah.
Plural.
Well, they are.
Or humanity.
Yeah, they're over there, not he's over there.
Yeah. Right.
They're over there. It's going to take some time. 53 years old. I've been saying he and she a long time.
I say folks a lot.
Folks? Yeah.
That one works cross.
Now, do you spell it K-S or the new way?
Is there a new way?
I learned, F-O-L-X, I think. Folks.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that sounds like some kind of...
I don't know. Maybe that... I don't know.
If it works.
I don't have any idea. I probably completely am wrong. I've seen it and I've heard people refer to it that way.
I've seen like Fox, like something that's kind of like a fake version, a not genuine version, like F-A-U-X.
Yeah, faux version.
Yeah, exactly. That's how you say that.
Yeah. But it's just like when you went to Yeah, when you go to the pho and the whole, yeah. But
yeah.
it's, no, it is, yeah, I believe I've been seeing it lately in the, with an X instead of a KS, and I don't know what that means.
I mean, that sounds fun. Sure.
I should probably Google it.
I got a letter from a friend about a year ago for Christmas, and like I picked it up the other day and it said, "Hi, human. Like, what's up?"
Nice.
And then I was like, "Awesome." And then I got a hold of him and like went and had breakfast.
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, I hadn't seen this person in a long
Especially
time."
for everybody's
but
peeps.
it just like, yeah, that's a good one
My
too.
peeps.
Yeah. I think it's just like, let's just like zoom out a little bit, right? Like, let's
I
not
think
be
we all
so.
need to.
Let's not be so. I don't know. It's like you're putting people in the box too, and people don't like to be in a box. It's like, am I a Mister? I don't know if I like that, you know. Or like, and everybody has their own kind of different titles that they maybe like or hate or have love-hate relationships with, you know.
Yeah. And there's probably a lot of things tied to why you don't like it.
Yeah.
You know, you've been somewhere along the line, somebody put you in that box in a negative way, and that's why you don't ever want to go back into it.
And it works that way in a lot. I mean, religion and politics especially. There's so many just loaded, emotionally charged words where you can't even have a conversation about anything because we're not all talking about the same thing here, you know?
No. I was actually in this place earlier this year and having the conversation about, I said the word privilege.
Oh, no.
And I know. And they were two white guys.
Yeah.
And I worked hard and I stopped and I realized it's the word privilege.
Yes.
Because it's when
so
I grew up,
charged.
privilege meant you were rich.
Yeah.
And it's not privilege, it's opportunity.
That's a good one. Yeah.
And I got to remember, Isabel Wilkerson said in her, that is a great book. Have you read Caste? C-A-S-T-E?
No.
So I didn't even know what caste. There's only 3 countries in the world that have a caste system, and we're one of them.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Black and white does not exist.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was literally their way of, when they were getting off the boat, you could have been a murderer in Ireland, but your skin was white, so you got to go that way.
Right, yeah.
You could have been an amazing, business owner and all those things, and your color of your skin dictated that you went to the other side.
Yeah.
So America used the white and black as a way to literally separate that.
Create a caste system.
Exactly. And it's incredible. It's crazy. But she talks about that. It's about that whole it's not. I think that fundamentally the word privilege is really where. And then everybody grabbed onto the Karen,
Oh, yeah, sure.
You go into to Next Door, that app, do you have that? No. If you it's great to know, is the road closed over there? But it's, it's like there are people on there who they just can't wait. Oh, there's a Karen. I'm like, oh my gosh.
So it almost updates based off of the area that you're in?
Yeah, it's just for your neighbor, your community. And and it's just, I stay off of it because I get pissed, but unless I need to find out if that fire is out, kind of a thing. But
it's almost like how the Black Panthers worked as a community back in the day too.
Exactly.
They just looked out for themselves and looked after the neighborhood,
The difference though is that they actually looked out for each other, whereas in Next Door it is very much
kind of isolates you a little bit.
It is very much not supportive. Because if you just asked a question, there's always going to be one person who just says some random, completely not relevant comment just because it's something negative.
There's a Facebook group for our town. There's 2 of them, and they're competing against each other.
Yeah, we have the
One
same.
of them's the real talk in Norwalk. One of them's the real talk in Norwalk.
They flip.
Literally
They flip. There's one word. It's evergreen. Online friends and evergreen or online neighbors and friends and evergreen friends and neighbors. It's the same. I never know. And one of them is a group of people who are they'll go, oh, does anyone know where the elk is today? And then they give them some. Yeah, they're over off of highway and make something up. So they're those people. And then the other one is definitely the more,
straight down the line.
Yeah, a lot of Karens, I guess, is what they call them. I feel so sorry for anybody named Karen. And I want to know what the name is for guys. Is it Ken?
Kyle.
Is it Kyle?
Oh you used to be, yeah.
Was it? I never ever heard the guy.
There was like a whole, like before Karen, there was like this whole meme about Kyle punching a hole in the drywall. It's like you can punch a bunch of holes in drywall, huh, Kyle? Or
so it's Kyle and Karen.
Gonna drink about a whole 6-pack of Monster Energy drinks and just go hog wild on the drywall.
And you know there are a bazillion Karens and Kyles that are married.
Oh yeah.
And then they have little Karens and Kyles.
Whatever that name is, I don't know, like a fusion of a name.
Yeah.
And then there's like the whole Brandon thing. I don't even want to talk about it.
You won't go there. But yeah, it's definitely like fundamentally, I guess if we were to summarize our conversation.
Okay, yeah. Thesis statements.
It would be, don't put yourself or let anyone else put you in a box.
I like it.
You know, be you. Be you. Because guess what? In the history of ever, there will never be another you. Ever.
Yeah.
So why would you be anything different? And you can't be.
Yeah.
So you're
and like it's not, don't put yourself in a box, but also like you can invent your own boxes, you know? Like because I don't know, I mean like you can invent your own character, I guess is what I mean.
Correct.
You know?
Correct.
Like I can act like anybody I want to be, you know?
Yeah.
I mean the world is a stage.
Yes, it is.
We're here to play, I guess.
Yeah,
I don't know.
exactly. But if it's in our own box, so it's like don't even if you're putting yourself in a box or others in a box, you need to be able to move those walls.
Yeah.
Because
boundaries are good in ways. Like it's like okay, I can't do this tonight, so I'm gonna have to say no. Respectfully decline right now.
Yeah.
Or whatever, and that's healthy. You know,
right.
It's you know yourself, you know what you need to do, you know what you can do.
Right.
You know? But just having like arbitrary walls where we're like, well, this is our country and this is your country. Like,
don't you cross that line?
Yeah, you don't pay our taxes. Neither does these guys. They live in your country too, but we won't talk about that.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's like and all the people who are like complaining that there's no workers that are, and that's why we're having all these issues with supply chains and stuff. You told them to go home. Because we just proved that the people who live here don't want those jobs.
Yeah.
So I don't know. What are you gonna do?
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
And those jobs aren't gonna pay enough to live, regardless.
No.
So doubly,
it's just screwed all the way around.
Yeah. Well, you know.
Yeah.
Win some, you lose some, I guess, right?
Hey, we're figuring it out.
It's all part of the conversation. We're going in the direction. You know? We didn't promise we were going to solve your problems.
No. We should have maybe put a preface. Like, this is not going to solve your problems.
Sometimes I feel like we get to conclusions in this thing. It's like, well, we solved everything. Now let's just party.
We solved it all.
It's Miller time.
Fundamentally, it's if you just don't be a dick. And include everybody. Everybody. That's it. If everybody's included and everybody's
don't include the dicks though, because
right, except for the dicks. The dicks can be
This is all starting to blur now.
Because the reality of it is that if someone is truly in that, they're a product of their environment. They're a product of their own mind. And so
they're suffering worse than all the rest of us around them are. You know?
I can't imagine living. I mean, at the end of the day, they go home to themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
And maybe there is
and we all do. And that means different things to different people.
And I mean, if you're okay, I guess if you're okay with, if you don't have to look the other way. If you don't ever have to say, oh, I'm just not going to think about what my actions did to that person. I mean, fundamentally, I think there's no way you avoid that your whole life. I just don't. I would love to have a conversation with someone who says, I don't really care. genuinely, where I can pick at them to like see.
One of my best friends does not care, and I talk to him all the time, and it is enlightening.
No, but when you, I mean, really though, does he really not care?
In ways.
You know
right?
what I mean?
In ways. Like,
it's a costume that he has on.
Exactly. And it makes him feel right at home in this persona. And it's like, well, all this shit's happening, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. I don't care about any of this shit. Like, it's all gonna be at the end of the day, I get a paycheck and I'm gonna go home. So it's all good. It's like, cool, man. Yeah, but we just talked for like 5 hours right now. But, I mean, granted, he's a great storyteller.
Yeah, but I would say that I would argue that it isn't that he doesn't care, it's that he's in his bouncy house. And as long as it isn't impacting him, man, not my problem.
Right.
And there's nothing I can do about it. I didn't do it. I didn't make that person's decision. I didn't have any control over it. Which fundamentally, isn't that the reason that we're in the mess we're in?
Yeah. He does have close friends though, so it's like you gotta
because he doesn't treat people like shit.
Right. Yeah.
And I would argue that if you had something, if you needed him, he would be there for you.
Yeah, for sure.
So he does care.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The I don't care is literally just his blinders, his protective of like, I can't make a change, so I'm just gonna pretend like it's not my problem.
It's almost like creating a barrier to have just in case. Like in case of emergency, doesn't matter anyway.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Yep.
Yeah, because he does. Because if it didn't matter, he wouldn't have all his friends.
Yeah.
Because everybody would realize, like, well, what is the benefit of having this person in my life?
Yeah, exactly.
He obviously cares enough to make people feel that they're loved, that they're appreciated, that they're valued. Someone who doesn't care doesn't do that.
And he does express that too, you know. And so it's like we all have our own kind of paradoxes in our personalities.
We do.
You know.
Yeah.
There's no way around it.
No. And I have to every day. I have to push myself outside of that.
Yeah.
You know.
Definitely.
It's not a one time.
No,
you know.
You gotta tighten the screws on the machine. Things start shaking.
It's exactly.
And it's like, oh, things are falling off. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I gotta do some repair work today. I'm gonna stay home, just like figure some things out for a minute.
Sometimes you just need to like sit with yourself.
Yeah.
When no one else wants to.
Yeah.
Sit with yourself and let it all be what it is. The good, the bad, the ugly.
Yeah.
And I actually do a mental backpack removal.
Okay.
So like I sit down and I take the backpack off.
Yeah.
And this is all my shit.
Yeah.
This is all shit that I don't want.
Yeah.
And I put it down.
Yeah.
Like physically, mentally. In order to pick that back up, I have to pick that up mentally.
Yeah.
And so I set it down and I walk away. Or if I'm not done meditating, I move.
Yeah.
So it's over here, and then I'm here. And in order to go back and regurgitate that, I gotta go pick that up.
Yeah. And for those listening at home, just sit down your phone and walk away. And it's basically the same idea.
Yeah, same exact thing, yeah. That's a key point.
Kind of a metaphor, but also do that.
My phone is my mini backpack, you know?
Exactly.
Yep. And then you go on there and you see everybody's smiling faces and how perfect their life is. And it's like, no,
It's also nice about using my phone for this. For at least an hour, I don't have to worry about the phone world at all.
Good point. Yeah.
Complete, like, kind of disconnection.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you're just open and honest, there's someone else out there that's having the same exact shit you're going through, and it's like, just to not be alone.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, that's really, even the people who say they want to be alone, it's like, nobody wants to be alone.
There's a balance. I do want to be alone, and then, I want to go see people, and then, like, it's too much shit.
Right. But it is. It's on your timing but it is. We all just want to be understood
and try to become in tune with that too is important, right?
Yeah.
That's hard to do. You have to go inside to even like realize it's like, wow, I feel like I'm around all these people and I'm overwhelmed. I don't know what to say. Like I've been around people. Like you don't realize that I've been around people for a long time, too long in a row.
Yeah, yeah, awesome. Well, I hope that the next time you play, and or the next time you're at a concert, and you are in the magic bubble, and you look over at the people who are not included in that magic bubble, I think that's what it needs. It is everybody just needs to start becoming aware of all the people who are not included. And it's not difficult to remove those barriers.
No.
It was take away the fence.
Yeah, exactly.
That was it. They're like, what did you do to make your music festival accessible? We had adaptive technology that allowed deaf people to experience music, and we had all these things. But fundamentally what we did was we just didn't have barriers. And that's life.
A large sense of awareness of your surroundings and just being able to like kind of read people and being like, okay, I'm gonna stop the concert right now. Is somebody sad? All right, we're gonna play a sad song real quick. Hold on.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah, wouldn't that be great? I would never be sad. I'd always be, it's always a dance party in my world.
Yeah, for
so,
sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
But yeah, it is, life's a lot, nobody wants to eat just one flavor of jelly bean. You know?
Yeah, for sure.
What if all you got is green jelly bean or black? What if all you had was just nothing but a life of black jelly beans? That sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you like black jelly beans,
I do like licorice.
as Bob Weir said, not everybody likes licorice, but those that like it a lot. But life is so much better with all the flavors.
Yeah,
Like,
sure.
take your blind, talk to someone.
Try something different.
Try something different.
Yeah. There's a menu.
There's a lot more than vanilla and chocolate in the world. Try something different. And it's amazing how much bigger your world becomes by just opening it up a crack for that difference.
Definitely.
Yeah. It's awesome.
Fantastic. Well, that sounds like it. That sounds like the jam. We did it.
I'm so glad I came now.
Awesome.
I'm like, this is awesome. I really enjoyed meeting you. And,
Sweet. Yeah, me too. Likewise. Yeah, this was a perfect conversation. And
it just
I learned a
fueled
lot. I don't know. It was just a lot of fun. Rolled downhill well. We were just feeding off of each other.
I know. Well, I think it is. And it's funny. I actually needed that. I needed to be fueled by positive energy because it's stressful right now. I mean, I'm in a stressful situation. I left my for-profit kind of dangling because I couldn't do that and my nonprofit. In June, the second week of June, I had to stop skipping one night a week of sleep.
Oh, man.
I just didn't have the time. And so I was I didn't plan the day.
Collectively? Or
if I was at midnight, when I was at midnight, I was like, okay, we're going through, and then I worked the whole next day, and then I would crash about 10 o'clock, and then sleep until 7 and get up and do it all over again. But I just didn't have, no one cared about it as like I did, and so now I'm in the whole, oh my gosh, I need to get my for-profit going, back in so that I can afford to continue to do that, my nonprofit. So I'm in this whole stress mode, and I was like, I almost didn't come today because I'm like, oh my gosh, it's a half an hour there, half an hour back. I have so much that I need to do. I'm so far behind, and then I just nope, I made a commitment.
You always appreciate it when you show up, though. There's a band playing, there's people you know or you can talk to. It always makes you just feel like you're back home again.
It is, and it's about integrity for me. If I say I'm going to do something, and a lot of times we are with something like, oh, well, something better came along. Well, how shitty is that? So it's like, no, if you make a commitment, and I made a commitment, I accepted the invite, and so I'm here. And half the time, that's really all it's about is showing up. And then Lord knows what's. I mean, it's crazy what happens.
Yeah,
you know?
because it's like that whole feeling of like, oh, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this. And they're like, well, I keep saying that, but really.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It is. Sometimes we got to do things we don't want to do.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So it all works out. I'm really grateful. I'm like, this is why I came.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
To meet you. All right.
Guys, yeah.
Dude, that's
well
awesome.
done.
Man.
Cool. See you guys later.
Bye.